are recording at this point. So we're just going on the record. This is ERD case number CR 2019-02603 with an EEOC case number of 26G 2020000066C. I'm Administrative Law Judge Stephanie Brown. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021, and we're here for a hearing on the issue of probable cause involving the complainant, Reyes, and the responding Connections, LLC. Before we begin, I just want to start by getting into kind of what led us here today for the hearing. So on October 17th, 2019, Mr. Reyes filed a discrimination complaint against Connections, LLC, alleging discrimination on the basis of race, sex, national origin or ancestry, conviction record, marital status, sexual orientation, and color. And then on March 27th, 2020, Mr. Reyes filed an amended complaint alleging discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin or ancestry, sex, age, conviction record, arrest record, sexual orientation, creed, and marital status. After an investigation of the complaint and amended complaint, an investigator issued an initial determination on June 30th, 2020, finding that there was no probable cause to believe that Connections, LLC violated the Wisconsin Fair Employment Law by discriminating against the complainant in terms or conditions of employment because of race, ancestry, color, sex, age, marital status, sexual orientation, creed, arrest record, and conviction record, and terminating the employment of the complainant because of race, ancestry, color, sex, age, marital status, sexual orientation, creed, arrest record, and conviction record. So those are the issues that I will be ultimately making a decision on after hearing all the testimony here today. Mr. Reyes, do you understand that those are the issues that will be?
Yes.
And Attorney Macklin, do you understand that those are the issues that will be the focus of the hearing here today?
Yes.
All right. I will begin with Mr. Reyes' testimony. I will begin by asking him some questions based on the discrimination complaint and the amended discrimination complaint. Mr. Reyes, you'll have an opportunity after I'm done asking you questions to bring up or address anything else that we didn't cover during my questions that you feel relates to your discrimination complaint and amended complaint. When you are done providing that information, Attorney Macklin will have an opportunity to question you. You'll have an opportunity as well after her questioning to go into any additional detail that you want to discuss, kind of relating to the questions that she asked you. When you are done presenting all of your evidence, the respondent will then have its opportunity to put on its witnesses. Attorney Macklin will have an opportunity initially to question the witnesses, and then Mr. Reyes, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions of the respondent's witnesses as well. When the respondent is done presenting all of its evidence, you'll have one last opportunity, Mr. Reyes, to present any additional evidence. We consider that rebuttal evidence. So it's not evidence that you already put on the record or could have put on the record. It's more things that you were surprised to hear the respondent's witnesses testify about. So it gives you an opportunity to address that information before I close the record. Mr. Reyes, do you have any questions about the process here today?
I do not.
Attorney Macklin, any questions about the process?
No.
All right. I had already asked Attorney Macklin you to identify the individuals, but we were not on the record at this point. So again, if you could just state your appearances, please, Attorney Macklin.
Sure. Attorney Heather Macklin of Davis and Kielthau, appearing on behalf of the respondent Connections. Also with me are Jessica Meyer in the pink shirt and Danette Locke in the black shirt, who are the former owners of Connections.
All right. And Mr. Reyes, you are here representing yourself here today, correct?
Correct.
All right. So as long as there's no questions, I will start Mr. Reyes by swearing you in. If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you will give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Could you just state and confirm for me your current mailing address, please?
314 Grove Street, Manuel, Wisconsin,
All right.
54949.
All right. And like I said, I'm going to start just by asking you questions about your complaint and your amended complaint. And the first thing I want to do is just make sure that I have in the evidence all of the different protected bases that we had gone through and what those are as they pertain to you. So I'm going to just run through this, and I'm just going to have you tell me what your race is.
Mexican.
And what is your color?
Brown.
Okay. And your national origin?
My national origin will be Hispanic.
Okay. And your sex?
Male.
All right. And
heterosexual male.
Okay. And your date of birth?
2/26/73.
So that would make you how old then?
48, a very old man.
All right. Your marital status?
Married.
Your creed or religion?
Catholic.
All right. And then you also, the last two things on your complaint forms, I believe, are arrest record and conviction record. So do you have an arrest record?
Yes, I do.
And as well as a conviction record?
As well as a conviction record, yes.
All right. And for your arrest record, can you tell me what is on that? Do you have, as we sit here today, any recollection of what your arrest record contains?
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff on there. A lot of driving at the revocations, some dealings with drugs, some thefts in there, because when you're homeless, you do what you got to do. So there's all kinds of stuff on there. I can't recall everything. I mean, it's been 2 decades since I even looked at my conviction record or anything like that.
So is your conviction record include everything that you were arrested for, or were there some things that you were arrested for but not convicted?
No, everything that's in that complaint and that connections had, which was a hard copy of my complete background check. See, I used to work in the secure area of the Mitchell International Airport.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why I actually had a hard copy of my background check. And when Connections hired me, I was told that they needed a background check, and I actually had the hard copy. So I just gave them a copy of my hard copy. But yeah, it's quite extensive, Your Honor. I was a pretty bad boy back in the day.
All right. And what you kind of pulled out of the packet, is that the information that Connection submitted as part of its its exhibit list for the hearing here today?
Yes.
So I want to bring that up on the screen just for a second. Let me see if I can share this with you. So I brought up on the screen what the respondent noted was its Exhibit 4, and it starts here with something called background information disclosure instructions. Was this the information that you provided when you said that you gave a hard copy of your record to Connections? Is this what you provided Connections, or is this not what you provided to Connections?
It is something I provided to them because I can see my signature on there, but I can't actually read any of it.
Okay, let me
It's
see
from
if
the
I can.
state of Wisconsin Department of Justice. Yeah, that's me.
So you believe you provided all of this or only certain pages to them, or
No, I provided my entire arrest record, my entire conviction record, and yeah, that is everything I gave them. And that was upon
right.
being hired the first time.
All right. So I guess first of all, when you say you provided it to them, who did you provide it to?
My employer. That
Was
would be
there someone
yes. Miss Rissa Pierce.
All right. And who is Rissa Pierce?
He was the director or general manager of Connections. Pretty much the boss when Miss Danette and Miss Jess were not around. She ran the center.
And when did you provide information to Miss Pierce? Do you recall like when that would have been?
2 days before I began employment.
And you had said, I believe, I may be not quoting you entirely, but you said that the first time you were working there?
Correct.
So when did you start with Connections for the first time?
Oh, I want to say it was 2017, if I recall correctly. And I worked there for
And
2 years. And something happened with one of the clients there, but I had to leave. So I went to work at another autism clinic in Stevens Point for a year before coming back to Connections for the second time. At which point I did not need a hard copy of my conviction record and all that because they already had a hard copy of it.
so then, if I'm understanding your testimony correctly, you came back sometime then in, would that be 2019 or 2020?
I came back in 2018, so that means I was started working at Connections for the first time in 2016, I believe. Now that I think about it, because I've been gone from Connections for 2 years, and it's 21, 19, yeah.
So you started in 2016, worked there for 2 years, left, and came back then?
Correct.
Okay. And the first time that you were employed by Connections, what was the job that you held?
They call it therapy tech. That means I did therapy with clients, and then we'd switch off. Usually,
We're back on the record after taking a short break. So Attorney Macklin, you can continuing with your questioning of Mr. Reyes.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, while you were employed at Connections during both terms of your employment, technicians such as yourself were reviewed monthly, correct?
correct.
And in those reviews, there were positive comments and also constructive criticism given as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified here today that your data was different because it was always better, and it was only near the end of your employment that you started receiving negative criticism, correct?
No, I stated that towards the end of my employment, I started to get written up more frequently. I believe that's what I testified to.
So you, in your monthly reviews, though, throughout your employment there, had consistently received both positive and negative feedback about your completion of your job.
Oh yeah,
duties.
absolutely.
So let's just look at a few of those. All of this, I believe, Ms. Brown, is in R7.
Okay.
So the first page that I'd like you to turn to is page 10.
Just one second, let me get there. Okay, so this should be page 10 of R7. Can you see that?
It's not, you haven't shared the screen yet, I don't believe.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know that. Sometimes I forget to do that. Just one second. Okay. Now, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So, Mr. Reyes, this is a rated feedback form for a period of April to July of 2019 that was completed by Liz Langskren. Do you see that?
I do.
Liz is not a name you've mentioned at all here today that you had any issues with, correct?
Correct.
And if you look on page 10, and you scroll down to the first box paragraph, do you see that where it says notes under core competencies? Do you see that box? Yeah, the one that Ms. Brown has put the cursor over right now?
Yep.
Okay. The second sentence starting there says, over the last few months, there have been increased instances of complacency and the supervisory team has noticed reactivity. When we are not observing overlapping with you directly, you are seen allowing your learner to sit idle, leaving your learner unattended, not remaining near your learner, etc. Do you see that?
I do see that.
And that is criticism that you received from Ms. Langskren in this rated feedback form. Is that accurate?
It sure looks that way.
On the next page, page 11, in the box at the top under policy and procedure compliance, the second sentence there says, please do not carry food on the floor and do not be giving any to learners. This can cause problem behavior with other staff when they do not provide food during their session. You see that?
I do see that.
Was that something that you had done, was provide food to the learners?
I don't recall providing food to the learners other than cooking for them during lunchtime.
Was that ever taken out on the floor with them?
Sometimes they were allowed to eat in their cubby, so the answer to that would be yes.
And then if you go further down the page under exhibition of cultural pillars and respect for others, do you see what, first off, there are 5 boxes that can be checked there. And which one were you given in this particular review?
Rarely displays.
And then in the notes, it says, talking about learners' problem behavior and joking about mannerisms, not acknowledging when feedback is given, being disrespectful and defensive. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Do you recall receiving this feedback from Ms. Langstrom?
No, I don't. But if she says I got this feedback, then I must have gotten it.
Can you turn to page 17, please?
Sure, just one second. Okay, this should be page 17.
Mr. Reyes, this is another rated feedback form for the period of April that was completed on May 7th of 2019, again by Liz Langskren. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And on page 17, in the first box of notes under core competencies, starting with the second sentence, do you see that she referenced that sometimes you use verbiage that isn't necessarily ABA appropriate, i.e. negatively formed phrases, saying no, or don't do that, and using more of a quote dad tone? Keep practicing error correction and be sure to always be in control of reinforcing items and activities. Do you see that?
I do.
You know what the ABA reference is?
Nope, I sure don't. And I have a question. Oh, I can't ask questions. Forget it.
Turn to page 18.
This is 18.
Yeah, the big box at the bottom is what we're going to look at under exhibition of cultural pillars and respect for others. Yep, that's it. Thank you. In this box of notes, Mr. Reyes, I'd like to direct your attention to the third sentence that starts, occasionally you engage in outside conversation. Do you see that sentence?
I do see it.
Occasionally you engage in outside conversation for longer than is appropriate while on the floor. Stir the pot, so to speak, with learners, i.e. somewhat taunting or purposefully pushing buttons, and sometimes challenge BTT notes, programming, and make excuses when feedback is given. Be aware of how you respond to supervisors when they speak to you, and if questions or concerns arise, bring it to the applicable person's attention rather than taking it upon yourself or talking with other staff members about it. Do you see those comments?
Yep.
Do you recall receiving that feedback from Ms. Langstrom?
No, I don't. That's because they weren't important.
You didn't feel that feedback from your supervisors was important?
No, I feel that all of this evidence is irrelevant to the case. I wasn't fired for the feedback. I was fired because you thought I hit a kid.
But you did testify and made many allegations in your complaint and amended complaint, and testified here this morning that you believe that there was, near the end, right before you were terminated, increased write-ups, but the feedback going back some time indicates that you had received negative criticism and feedback from your supervisors long before your termination, correct?
Yes, but these are not write-ups. These are just feedbacks. Talking about a whole totally different thing there.
And you concede that what you claim was different treatment is not at all relevant or related to your termination from Connections, correct?
I am not sure that is completely correct. No.
Well, then these...
Such as on this page, it says stir the pot, so to speak, somewhat taunting. I mean, by whose definition are we talking about?
Well, it would be
and
your
again,
supervisor.
these are feedback forms, therefore irrelevant to why I was fired and irrelevant to this whole case. And if I could object for relevancy, I would.
Ms. Brown, if we're going to have argument from the witness every time I ask the question, this is going to take a long time. I am not trying to argue with Mr. Reyes. I'm simply asking him questions about documents. He testified to this earlier. He testified to the feedback and the reviews that he was given by staff as treating him differently. This is directly relevant to my client's ability to refute and rebut allegations.
Yeah, it is. You can go ahead. Continue.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, the learners that you worked with at Connections, can you describe, not specifically any specific child, but the general categories of types of children that were clients of Connections?
Children with autism.
Okay, so children who had autism or on the spectrum were all the students that you were working with there, correct?
Correct.
And some of these children had various levels and abilities to verbalize and communicate. Would that be accurate?
Yes, it would be.
And they also had various levels of behavior and how they conducted themselves at any given time, correct?
That is correct.
You would agree with me that physically abusive behavior or punishment against any child is not acceptable?
Absolutely.
And would you agree with me that a facility like Connections, who deals in particular with children on the spectrum who may not be capable of verbalizing or communicating, should not allow or condone any physically abusive behavior or discipline towards its learners?
I would agree, yes.
Would you agree with me that a zero tolerance policy as to physically abusive behavior or discipline at a place like Connections is an appropriate policy to have in place?
Yes, it is an appropriate policy, yes.
Do you recall when it was announced that Caravel was going to be purchasing Connections?
Yes, I do.
When do you recall receiving that announcement?
Shortly before I was terminated. I don't recall the exact date, on or about a month before I got terminated.
So within the month prior to your termination is when you first learned that Caravel would be purchasing Connections?
No, we kind of knew beforehand, but we weren't sure. But yeah, so.
And I want to clarify some testimony that you did earlier because it wasn't clear to me. When you stated that you were followed around and observed, did you mean that you were followed around and observed by employees of Connections or supervisors
No.
at Connections? Were you being
No.
followed? Okay, let me finish the question. Or were
I
you
thought you
being
did.
followed repeatedly by people you believe were from Caravel?
People that I know were from Caravel. That's correct.
How many times do you believe that happened?
It happened about 6 times.
And that would have been in the week or two prior to your termination?
Yeah, actually, yes.
And how do you know that those individuals were from Caravel?
Because they were in a center where if you don't belong there, you can't be in there. And they weren't from Connections. So intelligence told me that they were from Caravel.
So you made an assumption when you saw people you didn't recognize that they were from Caravel?
No, I knew they were from Caravel. They had badges on that said Caravel.
Did they have names on those badges?
I'm sure they did.
Did you catch any of those names?
No, their business
When you saw
does
those,
not interest me.
when you saw those individuals that you believe were from Caravel, were they accompanied by anybody from Connections?
Not when I was being observed by the people from Caravel.
And then you also claimed repeatedly this morning that all the employees or other employees at Connections knew about your arrest or conviction record. And I just want to clarify that testimony and ask you, on what basis do you make that allegation?
Because when it came time for the background checks to be done, a few of the employees came up to me and said, "Boy, I wonder how long yours is going to take to feed out through the fax machine or the printer." And it was a joke. And I didn't think it was funny because I wanted to know how they knew about that.
Which employees?
Employees that worked at Connections.
Yeah, I'm asking you for names, Mr.
Oh,
Which
let's go.
employees?
Riley, Amy Jo, what is the other girl's name? Mary, and a bunch of other people that I don't remember their names because I haven't worked with them in a while. I'd have to see them to know their names. You know what I mean?
Do you have any personal knowledge as to who at Connections actually has physical access to employee personnel files?
I would imagine management has access, and only management.
So I just wanted, you said you imagine. Does that mean you're guessing, or do you have personal knowledge as to who has access to employee personnel files?
Well, being that I've had background checks done before, I know that other employees of my level are not privy to that information, but I do know that management is privy to that information. As far as owners of the establishment and the general manager, of course. I don't mean like BTTs or BCBA. Well, BCBA is management.
Did you ever personally yourself reveal to anybody other than management when you applied, any of your employees, your coworkers who you talked with daily, that you had a criminal background record?
No, that's embarrassing. I would never put myself out there like that.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time, Ms. Brown.
All right, Mr. Reyes, is there anything else you want to testify about based on the questions that Attorney Macklin asked you?
Yes, if we could go back to, I think that was page 10 of our summon that she shared with us.
Okay, let me just put it back on the screen just a second. Page 10.
Yeah.
Okay, this is page 10. What part of page 10?
The part where it says that, oh, where is that? Where it says that while I was not being observed, that they observed me not doing my job. How is that possible?
Are you talking about here when we are not observing / overlapping with you directly? Okay.
I am seen allowing my learner to sit idle. Well, if I'm not being observed, how are they observing this? Is my question to the other side. That's
anything else you want to testify about?
no, but this also shows that things were made up, such as this. I'm not being observed, but I'm being observed doing negative stuff. That doesn't make any sense. So I actually have nothing to say further about my core competencies because they're irrelevant to this case. So I do not have any questions about that or have anything to say about those.
Anything else, though, that you want to discuss that covers anything that Attorney Macklin asked you?
No, we talked about only irrelevant stuff. So there's nothing I want to talk about that there.
Is there anything else that you want to testify about before I turn it over to Attorney Macklin and the respondent to present their case?
No, there's not.
All right, so then the complainant has rested his case. Attorney Macklin, you can put on the respondent's case.
We will do that if necessary, Ms. Brown, but what I would first state is that I believe that the complainant has a burden to satisfy prima facie, and I don't believe that the prima facie burden has been satisfied here to demonstrate that there is any probable cause of discrimination. There is testimony from the complainant that he did have a book in his hand and struck a child in the face with it. There is testimony from him that he has no knowledge of what discrimination. He's just guessing. He's throwing out there everything that is a possible category that he believes he falls into, but he doesn't have any particular or direct evidence of any discrimination and says he doesn't know what it could be. It might be some combination thereof. And I, at this point, I would ask that there be a finding of no probable cause, such of almost a directed verdict that he has not satisfied his burden.
Do you have any response, Mr. Reyes?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
When I see this case is unique because it's not a case of evidence. It's a case of intelligence. We are all intelligent people. We know what happened. And we know that I was discriminated against because you know I wasn't fired for what you say I was fired for. So the fact that you say that there's no probable cause, that in itself is the probable cause. If I did not get fired for that, then, oh, pray tell, what was I fired for? If you can answer that, then I can agree with you that this case should go away. But in whose favor? Intelligence is going to prevail here, because the evidence that you provided is not really relevant to the case. And you are so very fortunate that I dropped the ball in this case, because the evidence I had would have proven my entire case over and over again. But nevertheless, we are here. And you want to dismiss the case? I offered to let's work it out beforehand. You said no. So you bring in my criminal record and all of my core competencies, which are irrelevant to the case. However, the criminal background check, that could be a reason why I was terminated too. So maybe that was relevant. But like I said, there was no evidence provided on either side. So it's not a case of evidence. It's a case of intelligence. And that's all I have to say. There is probable cause. You know it and I know it. We all went to college.
All right. I'm not going to dismiss the case mainly just because if it gets appealed, there's usually a remand back to us for the respondent to put on evidence. And so I'm going to not grant the motion to dismiss, but I'll just leave it up to you, Attorney Macklin, if you can put on whatever evidence you think is necessary at this point.
Of course, and that's what we will do. And the first witness that we are going to call is one of our witnesses. Is she ready?
She just wanted to know if she should log on now.
Yes, she should log on now. Witness that you should see popping up and asking to be admitted is Ashley Shirley. She's going to be dialing in at this moment.
Okay.